Buckingham Palace has talked of King Charles's profound concern at allegations relating to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and Jeffrey Epstein. But there are a number of outstanding questions for the royal family. Does the palace have records for guests to royal properties who may have been connected to Jeffrey Epstein? Until this year, Andrew lived at Royal Lodge in Windsor. Until 2019, he had an office at Buckingham Palace. Based on Epstein's emails, it appears he was welcome. In 2010, Epstein emails one person saying, "I'll be having dinner at Buckingham Palace tomorrow. Want to join?" He later exchanged emails with Andrew, referring to 3 women, writing, "Should I bring them all so as to add some life?" We don't know if Epstein did dine at the palace, but later he emailed Andrew. "Great fun, more later," he says. "Yes, please," Andrew replies. Remember, this is after Epstein had been convicted for soliciting sex from a minor in 2008. It's now known that Epstein trafficked women and girls over many years. One woman says he flew her to the UK to have sex with Andrew. She alleges the encounter happened in Royal Lodge in 2010 and that afterwards she was given a tour of Buckingham Palace and tea. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor hasn't responded to these accusations, but he has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. We asked the palace about records of those who've been on its properties. It declined to comment. Next were concerns raised with the palace about Andrew's conduct as a UK trade envoy. Andrew held this role from 2001 to 2011 and visited many countries, including Libya, Indonesia, Oman, and China. This image and others are in the Epstein files. They were sent to Epstein by an aide of Andrew's, David Stern. Stern was in regular touch with Epstein. He's previously not responded to the BBC's requests for comment. Andrew also appears to have forwarded confidential reports on UK trade and investment to Epstein. Thames Valley Police says it's looking at the allegations, and the palace says, if need be, it stands ready to support the police. But were concerns about Andrew's conduct as trade envoy raised with the palace at the time? The palace declined to comment. We also asked about Virginia Giuffre, who died last year. She alleged she was flown to London by Epstein in 2001, when 17 years old, and that, on this occasion and 2 others, she was forced to have sex with Andrew. He denies this. In 2022, Andrew settled a civil case with Giuffre for an undisclosed amount. It's been repeatedly suggested that members of the royal family, in particular the late Queen, helped finance this. We asked the palace if this is the case. It declined to comment. We also asked if Charles was involved in discussions with Andrew ahead of the settlement. The palace declined to comment. This settlement came 3 years after Andrew's infamous Newsnight interview. Andrew said he'd had no contact with Epstein when he was serving his first jail sentence, and he said he'd ceased all contact with Epstein in 2010. Neither of these statements were true. The emails released in the Epstein files show as much. At the time, did the palace know that some of Andrew's answers were inaccurate? The palace declined to comment. Previously, the palace has said Their Majesty's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse. And the palace has distanced itself from Andrew. He's been stripped of his titles. He's moved out of Royal Lodge, albeit to another royal property. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor denies any wrongdoing, but as the allegations have mounted, he's declined to respond in detail. And, publicly at least, the king hasn't called on his brother to do so. The palace is offering to assist the police, but over the years it's had many opportunities to publicly share details of what it did or didn't know about Andrew's alleged conduct. And so far, it's not done that.